Hi everybody, it's Granny J. Clay. I am finally getting around to making a video. I've been busy making a lot of things out of clay and using some beads too, but you know, clay really has my heart over beading. But now that I've learned just a little bit about beading from Emma DeVoe, D-E-V-O-S-T, look her up. She's on YouTube, she's great. She's somewhat just beginning this too, but she's learning with us, and so that helps us to learn with her. And she just gives us great ideas and great tips on where to buy things and so forth. So go watch her. Thank you, Emma. Thank you, thank you. But here are some of my newer pieces that I have been making. Remember this form that I use from Sculpey? I use this part right here. I put a little cornstarch in here, so once I press the clay into it, it doesn't stick. But I made some more, as you can see, and I used, on these, I used Fimo Jade and Fimo Mint, and you can see that in here. And I used, the gray is my Sculpey Granite, original Sculpey Granite. So I just love these. These, you can do so many things. These are all inlays too. I cut several circles out, and then I cut a circle inside of a circle, and cut some more circles out, put them into the empty circles. As you can see, that's how I kind of came up with that. And then what I did, once I had the sheet of clay all finished, it was still flat, I just used my, it looks like a bar of soap, doesn't it? But I used this, and I just went over it and over it and over it and over it until the circles all kind of blended into my gray granite. And so they don't look like they're a separate piece at all. And this is called a burnisher. I'm sorry, I didn't say that. And then with the same clay, I wanted to use up what I was working with. I made some hearts, as you can see here. And then I made a little swirly cane, which we're going to do today. With some different colors, but with the granite. And then I had some left over from all of that, and so I made these 4 that I had, and those are pretty too. They're not finished, they're not sanded, they're not polished, they're not waxed. So I just wanted to show you, they're in the rough. And then here are a few other ones that I made. I made some some snowflakes. These are all inlays like my birds. I'm going to show you my bird necklace here in a second. So here's some snowflakes and some turtles. I just made 3 of the turtles. This was made in my, not in here. This turtle is bigger than all these or these because he was a little bit bigger, and I needed to have some space for him. I wanted to use ecru. I used ecru and a little bit of granite mixed together to get sand, the look of sand. And so the ecru was, the ECRU was Primo. And anyway, so I made this with my, let me just grab it, hollow bead maker with this. And I used the second largest hole. I don't like to make them with this. I really don't. I don't believe I'll make them that big again because it's just too, it's not easy to work with this. And it's slippery. You'd think that it would slip right out once the clay is in there, but it doesn't. You have to use cornstarch on that as well. But it just doesn't form it as well as my other Sculpey mold. I much prefer this, and I did see this in Michael's when I was in there this last week, so you can look for it. I think it's about $9.99. Anyway, I just wanted to show you my inlaid ones. And I'm going to put all of this aside. This is the one, I'll put this aside here. This is the kind of a cane that we're going to make, excuse me, make today. I haven't been talking very much, so I've got congestion a little bit, I guess. Isn't that pretty? All right, so I'm going to push that aside, but what I'm going to bring in is my bird necklace. If you recall, I told you I was waiting for something to come in the mail to work out the idea that I had in mind for this from my birds. And this is an inlay too. An inlay means when you roll out the clay, roll out the black, and get it where you want it. And then once it's rolled out, I cut several 1-inch circles with my little cookie cutter. And then once I had the circles cut out, I went in and I took this cookie cutter, and I got these cookie cutters, both the turtle and the birds. I got from RJ Crafts. Rhonda at RJ Crafts. Anyway, I have several in different sizes of this and several in different sizes of this. But I used the smallest one. This turtle ended up being just a tad bigger than 1 inch. So it doesn't fit, it won't fit well on here, you know, in that mold like that. It just takes over the whole thing. So I had to make it a little bit bigger. But I'm going to stick to this size from now on. Okay, so then I cut out a bird within the black. And then over here I've got another sheet laying out of the purple. Let's just say that. And so I cut a bird out in purple. What I do is I pick that bird up and put it into the black circle. And you have to work very carefully, but you can get it in there. And the fewer the edges, the better. The beak, you have to be kind of careful because that's very small. It wanted to deform once in a while, you know. But anyway, just so you know that. So once I had that done and I had these all made, I buffed them, I sanded them, I waxed them, and I buffed them. So they were ready to be put on a necklace. But I was waiting for these to come. I love these. These are little roses. Let me bring it up a little bit here, show you. And they are magnets. Let me just show you this. How about that? And they're pretty strong. Watch, see? So the wonderful thing about that is that this can be an interchangeable necklace. So no matter what color you're wearing and you want to match it, you can just pick one of these or two of these or three of these or all of them or 4 or 5, and they will fit right in here. And so because I put extra, see, I can just go in there. Let's just do this. Let's do this, and then let's do this, and let's do this. I'll leave the other ones off. Isn't that the coolest thing ever, to have an interchangeable necklace with birdies? Ah, I just love it. So I am more than pleased with this. It turned out better than I thought it would. I'm really tickled. Now, I bought these little roses from Beta Holique, and the number is FCL-01078. They're called Magnetic Clasp Rose Blossom Flower Design, 20 by 13 millimeter. I just ordered some more, so I'll have more. So that's where you can get them. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. I'm just tickled, you guys. I'm just tickled. I don't know that I've ever made an interchangeable necklace before, but that's the idea I had for this bird necklace, and thankfully it turned out really well. So anyway, I just wanted to show you that. Hope you like it. And as you can see, I put these on with beads. Hopefully you can see that. I make a very small hole, very small, with my hand. Let's see if I can pull it up. This is what I used. You can buy these most anywhere. I think you can get them on the internet. You could probably go to a hardware store. It's a pen, what is it? Not a screwdriver, but a drill, a pen drill. And then in the bottom, they have more. I just take this off, and they have this little thing, and these are really tiny. I use the biggest of the tiny ones, but because I use a beading needle with these, I can get through that hole very easily. And then on this particular one, I put 2 8/0 beads in the front and 3 8/0 beads in the back. And I used 6-pound fire line to do it with. That's the thread that you use. And I bought that at Bass Pro because it's a fishing line. Okay, so let's finish with that. I want to get into the part where we make something. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to put these away. If you hear a crinkling of my baggie, that's because I'm putting them back in the baggie. I thought I'd let you watch me from beginning to end this time. I didn't roll anything out. So I'm not going to hide any part of the process from you. So here we go. Today I'm going to use some more granite because I love this stuff. I just love granite clay. You can take a little chunk of this and add it to a clay that doesn't have any specks, and it'll have specks because you use this granite. I just love it. It's so pretty. But it is the Sculpey, original Sculpey clay, and it's a little softer than the Primo, just so you know that. I just want to let you know that. So let me just take it out of here for now. It came in a big, I think this is a 1 pounder. I ordered it on the internet when I found it. I was so tickled. Yeah, it says Sculpey Original 1 pound granite. One size, new, it says. So that's what that is. So I'm going to put this over here. So when I'm done cutting some off of it, and I'm just going to cut some off on the end. This is just my blade I always use. I put these handles on, by the way. It's just some little kind of a putty that I formed and put it on there and let it dry or harden. Okay, just going to take that much for now. And what I'm going to do is I am going to show you how to do maybe one bird. And I'm going to use this. I usually wrap my leftover clay in this like saran wrap type thing. And it keeps it really nice. And this is Sculpey Primo. And this is turquoise granite. It's gorgeous. I've been trying to see if they had any more colors in granite, but I haven't found them yet. But after seeing the turquoise, I'm not sure I need it. I love turquoise. So I'm going to take this that I've already rolled out before for something else, I guess. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my roller, and I bought this at Michael's as well. It's, what, 8 inches? Let me measure. Yeah, 8 inches. And I use this all the time. And because this is so soft, I can roll this out like this before I put it into my, oh, here, let me get my other blade out here, because that's how I lift it off the glass and move it up a little bit. I want to make sure I'm in focus, or not just in focus, but in the screen so you can see it. Okay, now I'm going to just run this through the machine a few times so that I condition it so it's ready to go. So you're going to hear some noise. How about if I just let you look at my birdie necklace while I'm doing this. I just ran it through for the first time on 0. 0, as I've said before, is my widest opening on my Atlas 180. And I run it through that, maybe 2 or 3 times, and then I go to 1, and then I go to 2. And as I go, they're getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So it's really mixing the clay well. So I'll be back. One other thing, when you mix your clay, I always fold it over once. You always put the folded side down into the rollers. Don't ever do it this way with the open side, because it's going to keep the air and give you air bubbles within your clay. So once you fold it like this, then put it in your machine, folded side first. One more time on 0, and then I'm going to go to the 1. Switching it to the 1. And you can hear that the motor works a little bit harder each time you do that. Now I'm going to take it to the 2. Now I'm going to go to the 3. Let me just show you what's happening here. So the thinner you make the rollers from each other, know, they come together closer, the rollers do, to one another. As I go up in numbers, then this gets longer and longer. So now I'm going to fold it, and I'm going to put it this way into the machine again on a 3. Now I'm going to fold it back up. I'm going to move this now. I'm going to fold it 3 times over, and I'm going to come back to 0, to the beginning, because that's where I want it. Okay. All right. That's the thickness I use when I use this mold. Okay, let me move that out of the way a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is get out my cutter. And these are my fat Daddy-O cutters. This part of my lid broke off. I have had this off and on so many times. So that broke a little bit, but it's not the smallest one. It's the next one up. And I measured it, and this is just a little bit over an inch, but it works well for all my 1-inch inlays. So we'll do that. I'm only going to make one right now. So I'm going to cut one for you. Sorry, you didn't see me do that, did you? I have to stay up here a little bit further. Okay, so I just take this, I made one, and I just press it down, and I turn it, pull this up, and I've got one. Okay? I guess I did make 2, but... All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the blue, the blue granite, and I'm going to move this up just a little bit further, like there, and move that over there. And I'm going to roll the turquoise a little bit. This is not as soft as this gray granite. Primo is a little bit harder, but Primo has been my very favorite clay to work with. I love it. However, I am going to soon be trying some Cernit. I had one bar of Cernit years ago, and I never did open it up, so I think it's still in my clay stash. But I've noticed people using Cernit lately, and oh, they have some gorgeous, gorgeous colors. So I'm going to see if I can't order a few bars and try something with Cernit. C-E-R-N-I-T. Okay, now I think I got that thin enough so I can put it in on the 0. It's really going to work hard. It's not as flexible. And that's my first run through on that. So I have to, even though I used it before and conditioned it before, I want to run it through a couple more times. Okay. Now I'm going to go to 1 and run it through. I'm going to go to 2. And I want to show you how this kind of falls apart. You see how that kind of falls apart here? The granite clay didn't do it as much. It's more sticky. It's a stickier clay. This is sticky too, but not like the gray granite. So I'm going to fold it this way. Okay. In on each other from the side. Pick up the pieces that fell out underneath the machine. And I'm going to just do this, and then I'm going to run it through on a 0 again, and then we'll cut out a birdie, and I'll show you what I did. All right, I won't need these edges because I'm just going to do one bird. Let's see here. Here's my cornstarch. Remember I told you about my cornstarch. Put one of my cutters over here and that over there. So I'm going to open it up and just have it beside me over here. And before I cut the bird out, I dip it in my cornstarch a little bit and tap it. See? So it won't stick so much. So let me just do that there. Bring it up here for you. And then I'm just going to push it down. And you can use this, or I've got a small acrylic block too, and I can bring that in and I can just push it down, which I've done that before in the past. Okay. And I kind of just make sure I've got it in there really well, and then what I do is I start pulling it off from around. I'm just going to hold the cutter there. If I were cutting many, I probably wouldn't do that. Now you can see that it's kind of covered in cornstarch, so I'm just going to get that off, and then I'm going to pick it up, and do you see how it's got edges? So I just come around with my finger and I get some of those edges off very carefully. Use my little finger, especially around the beak. I don't want to destroy that beak. It's kind of my favorite part, is the cute little beak. Okay, so I'm cleaning that up, and that looks, oh, not right there. You guys get to see the cracks on my thumbs. At least they're not open and hurting today. I've been wearing a lot of Band-Aids lately, so that helps. Okay, now I'm going to bring this here. I'm going to lay the birdie right there. I'm not going to make two, I'm just going to make one. And what I'm going to do is cut a bird, put it in here again, in here with this. I'm going to, as best I can, center it. Okay, we'll see if I did good or didn't do good. Here, okay. It's a little close to the edge there, but I'm not going to bake this one, so I'm going to put it in anyway, just so you can see how I do this. Now, it stretches a little bit, so I bring it back. I just bring it back. Let me see if I can get some of this off of here. Move that out of the way, move that out of the way. You could save this other bird if you wanted to. If you're going to make some other birds out of, maybe circles out of blue, you could put this into the blue. Okay, so just kind of work it a little bit. So the bird is protected once you put it into the mold. Okay, so you can kind of see how I did that. So there's the inlay. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. Okay, now here, I just take my finger, dip it in the cornstarch, rub, especially around the upper edges. Remember, you're going to be able to get this off of your piece, so it's not bad if you have some that ends up on your piece, your bird piece. All right, turn it around. Now I'm going to take it, I'll bring it up here so you can see it, and very, very carefully, I'm going to lay it here. You see that? Now I'm going to, in the middle, just to push it down very carefully, because you have to push it down. You want it to be shaped in a hump, so to speak. All right, do you see that? So that looks good. Now, depending on what you want to put in there, I'm going to put some of my granite because it's so nice and soft. It's going to go, in fact, I'll just use some of this, and I'll use this bird. Okay. And then what I do is, I don't put a lot back there, but of course you want to back it with something. You want to put clay inside here without pushing on that bird and distorting your bird. So it's kind of tricky, but you can do it. Okay, so I take this, and then I'm just going to very easily just take this, and I'm lightly pushing the sides down. Now, like I said, this is pretty soft. Pretty soft. Do you see how nicely that went down? I've used Primo on my snowflakes. That worked just fine too. Some cracking showed up when I was done, so all I did was smooth it over with my finger. So you just have to play with it a little bit, but you'll be able to get it there. And then I take my blade, and I don't want sticky clay on there, and wipe it. And then what I do is I take my fingers and carefully put some on my blade like this. I rub some on my blade a little bit. And then I'm going to start taking some off the top, just shaving it down a little bit, like that. And as you see, I'm holding it on this side. Even giving it a little bit of a push there. Okay, we're getting close. Maybe you can see it still kind of has some right here, but this is pretty close. So let me just shave this part like that. Now I'm going to start very lightly tapping this back in. And what I do is I push the side in a little bit. And if there's fingernail, if I got a fingernail mark or something, I try to get that off. But you sand this when you're done, you know, after it's baked and everything. So you can get pretty much the marks off that way, but I like to get it as clean as I can before I put it in the oven. Okay, so I'm not going to push real hard because remember you have a bird in there and you don't want to distort the bird. And then I just take it, flip it over, and there he comes. Now look, do you see what happened? He came away from that. So what you're going to do is, let me wipe this off and let me brush him off. And what you can do is very, very lightly bring it in. You can work this clay. And you can push down on the blue a little bit. He can stretch a little bit more, and he'll fit. Okay. Now remember, depending on what you want to do with the bird, you could hang the bird from a hole up here too. I mean, that'd be easy to do. You don't have to make a necklace like I made it. Okay, now I'm going to pick him up. He's still kind of far away from the edges, isn't he? And as you see, it shows the edge of the mold right there. So what I'm going to do is take my finger and just kind of work on it. And then I'm going to set it down and press on it a little bit more. And I'm doing it fairly hard, as you can kind of tell. Okay, and then sometimes I bring in my blade. Don't cut it, but I use it to even around there, even around the edges. Okay? And it takes the lines off of it. Okay. All right. This kind of thing takes a little time, but it's very gratifying to finish it. Okay, so I might have to play with that and just make that a little bit better there, but you can see what I did. That's how you get an inlay. It's a little bit more picky than some other kinds of clay work, but I think you'd be very satisfied with it this way. Like I said, you can put a hole right up here and just use it as a necklace that way. Or even earrings. You could use it as an earring. And the back turned out really nicely. Okay, I'm just gonna see if I can get it exactly how I want it before I put it in the oven. Or I might not bake this, I don't know. I've got so many other ones I need to work on. Okay, that's a little bit better. And then I bring my brush in, make sure I get more of the cornstarch off. Okay, so you can see, let me bring this up on my blade so you can see it. Isn't that cute? And of course, once you cook it in your oven so it's cured, and let it cool off completely before you work with it, then you can sand the edges to make them a little bit more even if you need to. Sand the back if you need to. Sometimes I end up sanding the top if I have a mark in there I didn't mean to get into it. So, and then once you've done that, you can wipe that down and then you can put wax on it and buff it and you've got it. Okay, so now the fun begins for this other one. Let me put my cornstarch away. That tends to like to get all over the place. You see I make a mess. You see right there? And I take this over the garbage can and just brush that off before I put it away too. I like to leave my workspace clean for the next project once I get up from my table at the end of the day. So I'm just gonna, there's more table back here that you can't see, so I'm just gonna wipe that off a little bit. And I'm gonna wipe this off too. And put that over there. And I'll put this over there. So we have a clean surface. And let's see. I'll just use a Kleenex since I can't find my rag at the moment. Okay. All right, everybody. I'm about there now. So what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how to make a cane so you can make some swirls if you'd like to. I have to run this through again, and it won't be that many times this time because I've already conditioned it. Put that there and I'll run it through with that. So here we go. Here comes some noise. I'm going to take this down to a 2. With the bird, I used it on 0, which was the widest, but I want this thinner. So, here we go. Okay. You can eventually get those as you roll them in. If you need that whole sheet to work with, you can get them to look just like this. But I'm not, I'll just cut that off. I'm not into that right at the moment. So let me cut this off. Okay. Yeah, just do that one too. All right, we're going to use this. We won't need that for the moment. Okay, now that I've done this one, I'm going to run the gray granite because these are the two that I'm going to use together. And I'm going to run it on a 0 first. I'm going to a 1. And I'm going to go to the 2. Okay, I had a little more gray than I do blue. I'm just going to do this and this and some off the top. Okay, put this aside for now. And here are my 2 pieces. And what we're going to do now is we're going to cut some circles. And the size of the circle is up to you. And I've got the Fat Daddy-O's out here again. And what I think I'll do is probably, I'll use this one. Let's see, this one is about 1.5 inches. So I'll use that one. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut as many as I can get out of here. Maybe 3, I'm not sure. Do that. And I might have to put the rest of the clay together to get a 3rd. Yep. So I'm going to pull that off, and now I'm just going to run this through. Of course, I could add this to it if I wanted to. I might add a little bit more to it. And I'm just going to run that through again. So I'll get my acrylic block and just do that. And do this. Just to piece it together a little bit better. I just want one more circle out of it. Okay, so we've got these 2. I'm just going to pick them up like this. Broke some off of there. I'm just going to push it back on. It won't matter in this particular instance. Okay, and I'm going to cut another one. Pull this off. Put that over here. So now I've got 3 of these. Now what I want to do is get some of this off of here. Kind of clean this up. Sorry. Kind of like a finger across the chalkboard, isn't it? All right. See if I can get 3 out of this one. There's 1. And let's see if I can squeeze one out of here. There's 2. I might be able to get another one out. Yep, and there's 3. Okay, now we are ready to go. I'll put this aside. And this is what you're going to do. You could use more colors than just 2 colors. You can, oops, let me do this one first and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to just use 2 colors. You could use 3 if you wanted to. What I do is usually you use the Pearl Primo. Once I'm finished with this, I will cut slices and lay those slices on the Pearl. Okay, let me just show you. I'm going to, and the way I found out about this was really it was a happy accident. I went on the internet or on YouTube to look to see how to make a flower, because I'm not real good at that. And so actually it was on Pinterest, I'm sorry, and I saw this. It wasn't a video, but I saw how they layered them, and I thought, how does that make a flower? So I tried it, and the flower didn't work, but I ended up figuring this out, which is, like I said, a happy accident. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to take the whole, let's see, where did I put this? I'll use this over here a little bit more. So let's see if that should be just about right for you to watch. And I'm going to take it and very carefully, I'm going to press it together. Very carefully start at this top end, and I'm going to roll it. And I'm going to push from the back with my other finger as I roll, okay? And you'll see that sometimes it tears apart, but it doesn't matter. You can kind of manipulate it to stay pushed back together. So I'm rolling it, and I'm rolling it fairly tight. Okay. I'm going to show you back. No, it's not tearing yet. I'm doing a good job of holding it, I guess. So you've got this. And do you see that kind of looks like a flower there? And I actually did cut the end off. I'll show you what I made with that if I remember to do it at the end of this. So it's like that. That's what you've got for now. What I'm going to do is take it and I'm going to roll it back and forth. And it kind of blends. Roll it in one direction and then I roll it back and forth. There, do you see how it's coming together that way? And it's getting thinner as I roll it, but you still have the distinct colors. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to twist it, and I'm going to push it in a little bit. Twist, twist, twist. And roll it again. Push it in again. Twist, 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 twist. I'm going to twist more up here because I see more of a solid blue right there. Yeah, I'll twist them down here too. Okay, once you get it to where you want it, and if you have several pieces, how many did I use? I used bigger circles when I made the first one, and I had quite a round roll to use with it, but let me show you. Okay, now what you can do is, maybe I'll take this. The ends look like that now because the clay is being swallowed into the, now what you could call a cane. I'm going to cut it right in half and you'll be able to see some swirling. You see the swirls? So if you use several different colors, you know, alternating as you line them up, you're going to get more color than this. But let me just show you a little bit about what I do. I'm going to take some, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to kind of bring it back out. Okay, do you see the swirling there? Maybe that way. Sometimes you can get a crack or two, but you can push it back, the clay back together. Clay is so forgiving. So there's the swirls. Now, if you want bigger pieces in this, like I said, make your circles bigger. And if you wanted to, you could put this in the refrigerator and cool it for a while before you cut it. This is very soft now, so it squishes somewhat when I cut it. But I'm going to show you. It goes all the way down to the end. There's a lot of swirling going on there. Okay, And I'm going to use this one and cut the rest of this one up too. Okay, so there's all my swirly pieces. Okay, now what you can do, I'm going to get some different clay out. I forgot that I needed that. Let me get it. Okay, this is the pearl clay, and like I said, I usually wrap it in saran wrap. Keeps it really nice that way. I keep it in the, also keep it in the original package. So there's the pearl. I love this, Sculpey 3 pearl. So this is somewhat soft as well. So let me cut some of that off. Wipe my blade off so I don't transfer a lot of color. Put that right here. Move these away a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to just take some of this and I'm going to roll that out. And then I'm going to run it through the pasta machine so I can condition it a bit. I'm doing this a lot faster than I normally would, but I wanted to show you every step. Okay, so now I'm going to run it through on a 0. It might pick up some other colors. Now I'm going to a 1. Now I'm going to a 2. I'm going to take it to a 3. And because I didn't clean out the pasta machine very much, you can see the shiny pieces of granite here and there, and some blue pieces. And I have these tools that I also bought at Michael's, I believe. And sometimes I just take time and I scrape it off. But for now, I'm just going to get that out of the way. And here's a few over here. I'll do that. Take that off, and that off, and that off. Okay, you see the back? Depending on what you put on the back of this piece, you don't want to use this to play. I'm going to place these on here. I'm going to just show you. You can cover up things, like I just made a boo-boo there, but I'm going to put these on here. I'm going to push them down and get a piece of this first. Get those out of the way. I might, let's see here, maybe get a little bitty one in there. And maybe one right there. You can put them wherever you want to put them. And I'll show you why. Okay, now I'm going to get some wax paper. And the reason I'm going to use some wax paper is so it doesn't stick to my glass sheet as much. So I'm going to lift this up. And I'm going to put some way over to the side of the wax paper because I want to fold the wax paper over. And then I'm going to bring in my burnishing tool, my little bar of soap. And I'm going to just take it and do circles. And this is going to work it into this pearl clay. You know, do you see how it's getting bigger? If I were you, I would cut thinner pieces, though. That's what I did when I did my other ones. Some of these are kind of thick, so you have to really use some strength to get them down. But you can see the swirl more and more. And I go in a circle when I burnish it into this. I want it to be one with the pearl clay, basically, is what I'm trying to do here. And you see how it's getting bigger, though? The swirls look bigger because we're flattening them out. Okay. Okay. Like that. All right. It's not, I would spend more time at that, but do you see what I'm doing? I'm burnishing them right into that piece of pearl clay. And once I have that done, then, and it's not quite to where I want it yet, but for time's sake, I'm going to pull it off. You could just burnish a little bit more than I did. I'm going to put it there. And then I'm going to, excuse me, I need to drink of water. I'm going to grab a drink of water while you look at that. Now what I'm going to do is, I don't like divots in the clay like this, my fingernails, you see that? So I'll make sure I get that out, and then I would bring it back and burnish it again. But let me just show you what I do. I grab my, again, my cookie cutter, my Fat Daddy-O's cookie cutter, and I decide where I want to do this. Let's see, where do I want to get that from? I'm going to bring this in again because we're going to need it. Put this over here. And let's see, what do I want the top of my disc to look like? You know, I want to get some of the pearl in there. So I think what I'm going to do is I might just grab that. Okay, I would cut several of them, but there's one. And then what you do is you lift it up with your blade. Everything aside, and then again I'll bring back a little bit of my cornstarch so you can see, and I put that into the mold, and I take this over to my garbage can and I pound it and tap it a little bit so I get the excess out sometimes, and then I take this side that I want to show up like my turtles and my snowflakes show. I flip it over and I put it in here, again, very carefully pushing it down. Okay, just very carefully. And sometimes what I do is I work it up on the sides, so this comes up all the way to the side. I don't think I did that on that other one. It's just things you figure out as you do more of these. Okay, so that's in there pretty good. And so what I want to do is, I think what I'll do is just use some of this extra pearl that's around here. And this, because it's got some glitter on it, I'm just going to mix it up, and I'm going to use that to put inside here. I'm not sure how much I'll need, so I'll get a little bit more. Now, if I were actually going to do this and make a bunch of beads, I would leave that pearl on here because I would want it. I want some of that pretty pearl to show. And that's another thing you have to pick out. What color do you want to lay your little pieces of cane on? So that, and you see these have the sparkle from the granite that I had already run through the machine, and it's not going to bother this at all. And so I look to see where it's the clearest, and I put this part I put down. If it just so happens to show through, see, and then very softly, I kind of hold that in there because it wants to work itself back out a little bit. Okay. Just like that. And let me get rid of this. Okay, get rid of the cornstarch again. And now I'm going to shave some of this off. I had put cornstarch on my blade before, and I don't have any on now, so we'll see how this works. Just got rid of my cornstarch by putting it away. So I'm just going to, little by little, kind of just shear some off. It's fairly soft, so it's coming off really nicely. When you get clay that's a little bit harder, it might not come off as cleanly. Okay. Then you want to work it back into the form a little bit. There's some sanding you're going to do maybe here and there when you're done, but not a lot. All right, let me show you how this looks. There it is. All right. And then I take this, clean this off. Sometimes I just wipe it with a rag or maybe a Kleenex even. And I could make many more of these to match this if I wanted to. I guess matchy-matchy isn't the thing anymore. Sometimes you get some rough edges. That's what I'm doing, is I'm going around and smoothing that out before I would bake it. And so it disforms it sometimes a little bit, but you can just pinch it back together softly. But like I said, you will sand the edges probably a little bit before you're done. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And then I kind of push it down, and voila, you have your pretty swirl piece. And you can make more to make a necklace and earring set if you want to, or even a bracelet. I think that'd be beautiful as a bracelet. Anyway, so now you know how to do that. I wanted to show you a few more things. I'm going to move this raw clay off of here for just a minute. Or show you a few things that I've done that might give you some ideas too. I don't know about you, but I love to look for ideas, but I love to come up with my own ideas. And I don't have enough of those. You know, sometimes I want more ideas. I want them to come faster. But then they show up when you didn't even expect them to. So that's okay too. All right, I got so much raw clay out, I have to move things aside, guys. All right, let me just clean this off too a little bit more, because what I want to bring is something in here. I wanted to show you, I worked ahead on a Christmas ornament for one of my kids and his family. We have only 4 grandkids. Our one son is married and he lives here nearby us with his wife and 4 kids. And so I make them some things once in a while, and I'm way ahead on this one. This is going to be a Christmas gift to give them, and so that's why it will have the year on it that you probably wouldn't expect for 2022. It's not to hang on the Christmas tree this year, but for the following year. So let me show you. And I must tell you, this took me several days to complete. But, let me put that up here. I don't know if you can see it all. This is to hang it with. I had some beads up here, but I didn't like it, so I took it off. And I did use beads down here to add their name. It's Holdhusen, like my last name, and then 2022. It's supposed to look like an igloo. I don't know if you get that idea or not, but then there's snow in here, and there's my son, his wife, our oldest grandson, next grandson, and only granddaughter. And they each have an initial, like our daughter-in-law is Kristen, so K for Kristen, B for Brad, S for Sammy, J for Jakey, M for Max, L for Lauren. So I will give it to them for Christmas. And Lauren, if you're watching, don't tell. Anyway, this is the back of it. I always like to texture the back too. But I built it, all of this is clay, and I built it to look somewhat like an igloo, and then this is like snow and ice, you know, that kind of a thing. So that I have been working on, just finished not too long ago. And let me just pull, let's see here. Oh, I made this, not for anybody special, but I made this little snowflake as well. And let's see if I had something over here I was going to show you. Oh, I'll show you this. This is what I call my ruffle necklace. It's got ruffles on it. I don't think, or maybe I did show you this before. But this is the turquoise and the granite clay. I'm making a lot of a lot of things out of that right now because I just love the colors. But this is just an easy ruffle. You make the clay really thin, and then you just pull it apart in strips. And it as you pull it apart, it makes that kind of ruffle look. And then I put resin on this one. And I made earrings to match it as well. And you know, I think the one that I was going to show you might be in my bag of goodies here. Yeah, it is. Let me just pull something out to show you. When I made a cane before out of pink and white, I made that. I just cut the end off because I thought it was pretty. And all I did was I cut a hole. I made this double. I rolled this pearl clay out on a 0 on my Atlas 180, and then I put 2 sheets together. And after I put the 2 sheets together, well, first I ran it through with a texture sheet, and then I put them together because the back is textured as well. You have to do that before you start working with it. And then I put the 2 sheets together, back to back, and then I took a piece of cellophane, put it over it, and cut out my round form with my cookie cutter. And when you use the cellophane, it makes a beveled edge, so I have a nice edge on it. And then when I got that done, I cut a hole in the middle with my very small cookie cutter, this one, and then I put the end of my cane in here. So, but it was covered because I didn't push real hard. It was covered with this piece on the back, so it worked really well. Anyway, I want to make maybe a necklace out of that, and I've got some earrings that go with this too. So that, you know what, that's about it, you guys. I have taken up much more time today with you than I generally do, so thank you for sticking with me, or even for jumping ahead to see what I was making. Let me just put this out here. I hope you enjoyed my little lesson, and I hope you will, let me bring this in too. I hope you'll try the little, I call it a pinwheel, kind of pinwheel cane, and it's such an easy cane to make. So if you do try it, I'd love to see that too. That's all I have for today. God bless you all. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. I am praying in particular for a friend who I just heard this morning has COVID. We moved here from South Dakota about 11 years ago, and they still live up in South Dakota, and so she's one of my good friends. And so if you remember her, pray for Cindy, that she would get over this very soon and not have to go to the hospital. I know there are a lot of people that are hurting and needing prayer these days, but you know what? Prayer works, and so I'm just thankful to God that He answers our prayers. Sometimes it's not in our timing. Most of the time it's not in our timing, but be patient, keep praying, don't give up on your prayers, just keep praying, and you're going to see that He answers them. All right, I'll let you go for now. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.